Just a week before I was supposed to get married, my soon-to-be in-laws whisked Jason away on a family vacation. When he got back he was cold and distant, and out of nowhere he said, "I think we should take a break." I just smiled, handed him a folder and told him, "That's interesting because I just found out a few things about that trip." As he flipped through the papers, I watched his face turn red with anger, and he shot a furious look at his parents. Last month was supposed to be my wedding day. We had everything lined up. The venue was reserved, my dress was hanging in the closet, invitations had gone out, and the cake was already ordered. Jason and I had spent months planning every detail. The whole celebration was set for Savannah, Georgia, which is where we both live. I honestly believed everything was going smoothly. Jason, let's just stick with that name, had been my boyfriend for 3 years. I really thought he was my person. Sure, we weren't perfect, but who is? We hardly ever argued, he always made me laugh, and we both wanted the same things out of life. I was genuinely happy. His parents, though, that was a different story. His mom, Marlene, is the type who gives you a once-over like she's trying to figure out if your shoes are pricey enough for her to bother talking to you. His dad, Ed, barely says a word unless he's bragging about his car or griping about kids these days. They never warmed up to me. I don't come from money or anything fancy. I've got a regular job and I couldn't care less about country clubs or what school someone went to. I always knew they thought Jason could do better, but he'd reassure me, telling me not to stress about it. He kept saying they'd eventually accept me. They never did. About a week before the big day, Jason mentioned that his parents wanted to take him on a quick trip to Miami. No special reason, just a last little getaway before the wedding. I thought the timing was odd, but I didn't want to pick a fight, so I just let it go. Now looking back, I should have realized something was off when he seemed almost too excited to leave. He barely even said goodbye when he left that Thursday. By Saturday night, I could feel in my gut that something wasn't right. My best friend Dana happens to live in Miami, total coincidence. She works at this downtown bar, the kind of place where people go to flash their cash. She called me while she was working. "Hey, isn't Jason supposed to be getting married next weekend?" she asked. "Yeah, why?" I replied. "Well, I think I just saw him with his parents and some girl." My heart just sank. She told me they'd been hanging out at one of the VIP tables all night. Jason, his mom, his dad, and some girl I'd never heard of, young, blonde, fake tan, wearing a short dress. She definitely didn't look like someone who just happened to be sitting nearby. Dana said Marlene and Ed were doting on this girl, laughing with her, asking her all sorts of questions. And Jason wasn't exactly keeping his distance either. That's when it all clicked. This wasn't just a pre-wedding family trip. They wanted Jason to meet someone else. And they set it up right before I was supposed to marry him. After that call, everything's kind of a blur. I just sat on my couch, staring into space for what felt like forever. Then the anger hit me. And when I get mad, I get laser-focused. Sunday morning, I started making phone calls. I found a private investigator in Miami who specialized in relationship stuff. I paid extra to have him keep tabs on Jason and his family until they left town. By Monday afternoon, I had the first set of photos. By Tuesday, there was video. By Wednesday, I had a full report. Restaurants, hotels, bars, poolside, shopping trips, another dinner. At every single place, Jason was right next to that girl, opening doors for her, laughing at her jokes, sitting close. His parents were clearly encouraging it. There was even a picture of Marlene and Ed walking ahead, holding hands like they were so proud, while Jason and the girl trailed behind, whispering to each other. I didn't breathe a word of it to anyone. Not yet. I just waited. Jason didn't get home until late Sunday night, and by Monday morning he was at my door. I played it cool, made some coffee, asked him how the trip went, just like nothing was wrong. He barely said a word, fidgeting and avoiding my eyes. Then out of nowhere he dropped it, "I think we should take a break." I just stared at him. A break? Less than a week before our wedding? I didn't bother asking for an explanation or what had changed. Instead, I smiled, reached for the folder with all the evidence and slid it across the table to him. "That's interesting," I said, "because I just got some details about your little trip." He opened the folder, looking puzzled at first. Then all the color drained from his face. He kept flipping through the photos over and over, like maybe if he stared long enough they'd magically disappear. But they didn't. That's when the front door swung open. Marlene and Ed strolled in like they owned the place. Marlene had her planner in hand and Ed was glued to his phone. "Hope we're not too early," Marlene said, acting like we were about to have a normal meeting. "We've got a lot to cover, Todd." Then she caught sight of Jason's face, the folder, and me just sitting there with my coffee watching the whole thing unfold. Nobody said a word for a solid minute. The silence was thick. Finally, Jason broke it. "What the hell is this?" he demanded, but he wasn't talking to me, he was glaring at his parents. Ed acted like he didn't hear a thing. Marlene tried to brush it off with a laugh. "Oh, don't be so dramatic." Jason turned to me, then back to the folder. "How did you get these?" Ed shrugged. "Doesn't matter. You and your folks can figure out your next move. I'm out." That's where things stand right now. No final decisions have been made. The wedding's obviously on hold. I haven't even told most of my friends or family yet. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what comes next. But seeing Jason realize his own parents tried to swap me out for someone else just days before our wedding, that was the first time I'd felt any relief in days. The silence after I said I was done just hung there, heavy and awkward. Marlene set her planner down on the counter, like we were still about to talk centerpieces or seating charts. "Let's not get carried away," she said, her voice all smooth and fake, like I was the one being unreasonable. "These photos don't mean anything. We just wanted Jason to meet some new people. That's totally normal." I looked over at Jason. He was still staring at the folder like he could read between the lines or something. "New people," I repeated louder than I meant to. "A week before our wedding? You really think that's normal?" Ed finally looked up from his phone. "Don't make a scene," he said, not even blinking. "We were thinking about the future. We didn't want Jason settling down if there were better options out there." I swear I felt like the air got sucked right out of the room. Better options? Jason just kept flipping through the folder, his face red, maybe from embarrassment, maybe from anger, maybe both. "You let them do this?" I asked him. "You just went along with it?" He finally looked up at me. "It wasn't like that." "Oh yeah. Then what was it?" I shot back. "You figured you'd try out someone new while I was home finishing the guest list?" He rubbed his forehead like I was the one causing trouble. "I just wanted to keep the peace." That's when I laughed, loud and sharp, and I couldn't even help it. "Keep the peace," I said. "You could have just told me you didn't want to get married. Instead, you flew to Miami to see if someone better would show up." Marlene plopped down on the couch like she owned the place. "This is getting out of hand. We didn't tell you because we knew you'd overreact, get all emotional. Just look at yourself." I don't even know what came over me, but I grabbed the folder, pulled out a photo of Jason and the girl, Shelby, according to the report, and held it right in Marlene's face. "This is ridiculous," I said. "You brought her along and tried to swap me out. Do you even hear yourself?" Ed stood up and straightened his jacket, like he was about to walk out of a boardroom. "You need to calm down. There's no reason for this to get ugly." Right then something inside me just snapped. "Oh, it's already ugly," I said, "and it's about to get a whole lot worse." I didn't even mean to say it, but once it was out I realized I meant every word. I still had the rest of the PI's report in my email, way more than what I'd printed. Receipts, room charges, flight changes. There was even a video of Marlene and Shelby at the hotel bar, with Marlene saying clear as day, "Once this little wedding is over, you and Jason will have all the time you want together." I hadn't shown Jason that part yet, or anyone else. But now I was thinking maybe I should. Jason ran his hand through his hair. "Look, I don't even like Shelby. My mom invited her. It wasn't my idea. Did you tell her to leave? Did you tell your parents no?" He didn't answer. "Yeah, that's what I thought." Then Marlene turned to Jason, acting like I wasn't even in the room. "Enough. Don't let her ruin everything. We can fix this. Just tell her you didn't mean it, calm her down, and we'll move forward." She actually said that right in front of me, like I was just some problem to be managed. That's when Jason finally snapped out of it. "Mom, just stop." For the first time, Marlene actually looked caught off guard. "What did you say?" "I said stop," Jason repeated, his voice softer now. "You're only making things worse." "Oh, so now this is my fault?" Marlene snapped back. "I'm the one who's been cleaning up after her tacky choices for months. Do you have any idea how humiliating this wedding has been for us? The guest list, the food, the decorations, none of it meets our standards." My head was pounding. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I turned to Jason, searching his face. "And you're just okay with this? You're still going to stand up for them?" He didn't say a word. That's when my phone buzzed on the table. I glanced down and saw a text from Dana. "Girl, I just overheard Shelby at the bar. You won't believe what she's saying. Call me ASAP. I locked eyes with Marlene. Looks like I've got some calls to make, I said, standing up. Actually, I think I'll be making a lot of calls. Ed finally decided to chime in. Let's be reasonable here. There's no need to make this a public spectacle. But it was already too late for that. The second I read Dana's message, a new idea popped into my head. If Shelby was still in Miami running her mouth, I wanted to know exactly what she was saying. And if Marlene and Ed thought they could keep this quiet, they clearly didn't know who they were dealing with. I didn't respond to Dana right away. I just stood there staring at the three of them, Jason looking guilty, Marlene looking irritated, Ed pretending he was just an innocent bystander. All I could think was, what else are they hiding? If Shelby was still in Miami talking and Dana thought it was important enough to text me at work, there had to be more to this story. I turned to Jason. How long have you actually known Shelby? He shook his head. I told you I didn't know her before the trip. Marlene rolled her eyes. Oh please. Stop acting like you're on trial. Nobody did anything wrong here. But Jason didn't look so sure anymore. I grabbed my phone and walked into the kitchen, dialing Dana. He picked up right away. Hey, you need to hear this, she said. Shelby's been here all afternoon, bragging about how she's finally sealing the deal. I stayed quiet, letting her talk. She told her friend your wedding was never supposed to happen. Marlene promised her that if she got close enough to Jason on the trip, they'd handle the rest. Handle the rest? I echoed. Yeah, as in end the wedding. Swap you out. Shelby's been telling everyone she was flown out to Miami just to break you two up. My heart started pounding. This wasn't just some random invite. Dana said they planned the whole thing. I hung up, walked back into the living room, set my phone down on the table and stared straight at Marlene. So, I said, how much did you pay her? She blinked at me. Excuse me. Shelby. How much did you pay her to come on the trip and throw herself at Jason? Ed shifted in his seat and Jason ran his hands over his face. Marlene just smiled. You really are dramatic. I just got off the phone with someone who heard Shelby spill the whole plan. She said you promised her the wedding would be called off, that Jason would be available. So again, how much did you pay her? Still nothing. Then Jason turned to Marlene and asked, barely above a whisper, wait, did you? And Marlene, in true Marlene fashion, didn't even try to deny it. He just shrugged. We gave her a little incentive. Nothing major. A few gifts, some spending money. Why is everyone acting like this is some kind of crime? I was stunned. They actually paid another woman to help break us up before the wedding. And Jason just sat there looking like he was finally realizing how deep this went. I thought you invited her as a family friend, he said. Marlene laughed. Please. You didn't seem to mind having her around. Now Jason looked like he might be sick. That's when I decided to push it further. Oh, and by the way, I said, Shelby's been talking all day. If I wanted to, I could share her little story with a few people. Maybe post it online. Maybe send it to the venues. Maybe let all the wedding guests know exactly why things are off. Ed cleared his throat. There's no need for that. Let's not do anything drastic. But I wasn't backing down. Drastic? I said. You think I'm being drastic? Your family tried to swap me out a week before my wedding, and I'm the one overreacting. And right then my phone buzzed again. Another text from Dana. Just found out Shelby's still in town and she's asking when Jason's coming back. I looked at Jason. Did you know she was still here? He shook his head quickly. No, I didn't. I haven't talked to her since the trip, I swear. Now everything was starting to make sense. Marlene had brought Shelby in to mess with Jason's head, and I'd bet she promised her more than just a few shopping sprees. Shelby clearly thought this was going to turn into something real. As for Jason, either he was lying to me or he was completely clueless. Neither option was exactly comforting. I looked him straight in the eye. Just be honest with me. Did you ever think about calling off the wedding before you went to Miami? He hesitated, then finally admitted, maybe. I wasn't sure. And my parents kept telling me maybe I should see what else is out there. I just nodded. All right. Good to know. That was all I needed to hear. I wasn't just up against manipulative in-laws, I was dealing with a guy who sat back and let it all happen, then called it keeping the peace. And Shelby? She wasn't just some random girl they invited along. She was part of the whole scheme. And since she was still hanging around town waiting for Jason to come running, it was clear Marlene's little plan wasn't finished yet. But here's the thing, neither was I. Now I had all the evidence. Now they knew I knew. And now I was ready to make sure they finally faced the consequences. I didn't sleep a wink that night. I just lay there replaying everything in my head, the trip, Shelby, the lies, and the fact that Jason admitted he wasn't even sure about marrying me before Miami. Suddenly it all made sense. That trip was never about family. It was a setup from the start. By the time the sun came up, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I made a few calls. I sent the PI's report to Dana. I texted my maid of honor, Rachel, and told her to meet me at the coffee shop near my place. I needed some backup. Rachel looked at me and asked, "Are you sure you're ready for this?" I just smiled. "Oh, I'm way past ready. It's time they answer for all of it, right in front of everyone." So that's how I ended up inviting Jason, Marlene, Ed, and Shelby to the wedding venue the next day, the actual place where the ceremony was supposed to happen. I told them we needed an urgent meeting about the wedding. Marlene, of course, jumped at the idea of a last-minute rehearsal. She had no clue what was about to hit her. By noon, everyone had arrived. The venue staff were busy setting up chairs for the real wedding, which was supposed to be just days away. It was almost surreal watching them work while I was about to blow up my entire relationship. Shelby was the last to show up, dressed like she thought she was the star of the show, short white dress, high heels, makeup like she was headed to a club. When she walked in and saw me, she gave me this smug little smirk. "I didn't realize this was a group meeting," she said, making sure everyone could hear her. "Yeah," I replied. "I figured it was time to clear the air." We all sat down at one of those big round tables meant for the reception. Jason looked like he hadn't slept in days. Ed looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Marlene looked as smug as ever. Shelby looked like she thought she'd already won. As for me, I opened my laptop, hooked it up to the venue's projector, and started showing the photos from the PI's report on the big screen behind me. First slide, Jason and Shelby by the pool. Second slide, Marlene and Shelby sharing drinks. Third slide, Shelby kissing Jason on the cheek while Ed watched. Nobody said a word. Then I hit play on the video, the one where Marlene told Shelby, clear as day, "Once this little wedding blows over, you and Jason will have all the time in the world." The only sound in the room was Marlene's own voice echoing off the walls. When the video ended, I turned around and faced them. "Anyone want to explain that?" Marlene finally cracked. "Oh, grow up. You're turning this into a scandal. Nothing happened. Jason didn't cheat. Shelby is just a friend." "A friend you paid," I shot back. "We all know. Shelby's been telling everyone at the bar in Miami. Half of South Beach knows what you did." Shelby tossed her hair and said, "Well, maybe not half, but it wasn't exactly a secret. Your little wedding was never going to happen. Jason deserves someone who actually fits in. Someone with class." She really said that right out loud. Rachel, who'd been quiet up until then, just let out a loud, sarcastic laugh and muttered, "Jesus Christ." Then Jason got up, and for a split second I thought maybe, just maybe, he was finally going to stand up for me. But he didn't. He glanced at his mom, then at Shelby, then at me, and all he managed to say was, "I think it's best if we all just go our separate ways." That's when it hit me, he was never going to have my back. Not now, not ever. This wasn't just Marlene's scheme. Jason was perfectly okay with it. Maybe he didn't come up with the plan, but he sure didn't try to stop it. He just let it play out, probably grateful for the escape route his parents handed him. I closed my laptop, slid it into my bag, and stood up. "Well," I said, "this is the last time any of you will ever see me. Good luck explaining all this when people start asking why the wedding's off." And with that I walked out. The second I got outside, Rachel was right behind me. "You handled that like a queen," she said. "Honestly, I was half expecting you to slap someone, but what you did was even better." About 10 minutes later, Erin called me. "You are not going to believe this," she said. "Shelby's already posting Instagram stories like she just got engaged to Jason. She's using hashtags like #FutureMisses and #upgrade. I couldn't help but laugh, not because it was funny, but because at that point, what else could I do? By the end of the day, the news was spreading fast. People started texting me wanting to know why the wedding was suddenly off. Marlene tried to spin it as mutual differences, but that story didn't hold up for long. Shelby couldn't keep her mouth shut, and by the next week, everyone knew the truth about Marlene. Here's how it all shook out. Marlene and Ed lost a lot of friends over the whole mess. Turns out, folks don't like being part of a wedding where the groom's parents are caught trying to pay off another woman to replace the bride. Jason stuck with Shelby for about 3 weeks. She bailed as soon as she realized the social status she'd been promised was a total fantasy. No wedding, no fancy lifestyle, no money, just Jason and his soggy cardboard personality. Shelby got roasted online. Dana may or may not have helped spread some of those Miami stories to the right people. Me. I won't lie, it hurt. It hurt a lot more than I wanted to admit. For a while I kept replaying everything in my head, wondering what I missed, how I didn't see the red flags, how Jason let it get this far, and how Marlene and Ed thought they could pull off something this twisted, like we were all extras in some bad soap opera. But after the dust settled, I felt this strange sense of calm. I wasn't married to a man who didn't love me. I wasn't stuck with a family who thought I wasn't good enough. And instead of spending the weekend crying in my old wedding dress, I spent it with my real friends. We threw the wildest non-wedding party you could imagine, champagne, karaoke, even dragged out my wedding cake and ate it with forks right out of the box. Somewhere around midnight, it hit me, I wasn't sad anymore. I was free. And honestly, that felt better than any wedding ever could.